we have somebody giving us a call from Missouri, it looks like. Pronouns he, him. Josiah, you were on. It sounds like you have a question about when people say that you were never a true Christian. What's going on today?
Yeah. So, were you guys ever believers?
I was.
Yes.
Were you guys ever Christian? So I live in I don't know, I guess a pretty small, close-knit community, and almost everybody here is some flavor of Christian. Although the prominent one is young Earth creationist, fundamental Baptist. So whenever I came out as atheist, a lot of people in the community, of course, wanted to know why, and evidently I ended up telling my story, and it always boils down to you were never a true Christian, even though it was a very big moment in my life. Becoming an atheist, in the background that I had, and I was wondering how you guys, deal with that kind of response.
Yeah, Ben, you wanna start?
Yeah, so I come from a very fundamentalist evangelical background. My parents work in Christian ministry. I come from a very, very Christian city in Colorado. And yeah, when it was a shock to people when I deconverted, I was dead set on becoming a missionary. I was ready to, work in ministry, follow my parents' footsteps. And my parents especially were very shocked when I told them that I had deconverted. And it is really difficult to deal with people when they're not convinced that you ever believed, or they want to write off your experience as if you never believed. And it's more of a reflection on them than it is on you. Because even you saying that, like, because if you never come out as an atheist to them, they are usually very ready to accept you as, yes, this person is a strong believer, this person is a godly person, a great human, all that kind of stuff. But then the second you say that you're no longer a Christian, their perception changes. And I don't think it's a reflection of you, because you're still the same person to them, but it definitely throws a wrench in their own thought process of, like, and I can't speak to their absolute intentions. I'm not intending to do that by any means, but I think most of the time they know that you're the same person that you've always been, but now they have to deal with you are the same person who now violates what they perceive you to be. You were going to say something.
Yeah, I can kind of understand that, but so my parents and my mother's mother, they've kind of accepted this, but my uncle and his side, they're, I guess, a little bit more fundamental, and they see me as the devil, and they don't really associate with us anymore because of that. They've tried to talk to me about this, and they are very hard into, well, you were never a Christian. You just want to rebel. You just want to do whatever you want. You blah, blah, blah. And it kind of kills me a little bit because I love my cousins, and it's kind of tough.
Can I, Josiah, let me ask, because I think this is going to be really important for kind of helping navigate these situations. Is your goal to convince them, your family, your friends, that you were a true Christian, whatever that means, or is your goal to be more at peace when those situations arise? Because you would approach them differently, right? If the goal is to have the snappy comebacks and the super valid and sound arguments and all that good stuff, then yeah, there are definitely some things, we could point you towards. If the goal is more focused on how do I not be so upset when people make this absurd accusation towards me, then that's a little bit different of an approach. So where between those two, or if there's another goal that you have, what do you think is kind of the goal for this, and getting advice on this and kind of asking how we would respond?
I guess
Does that make
I want to be
sense?
more at peace with it. Yeah,
Yeah.
I want to be more at peace with this situation, but I also want them to understand that, this, I was a true believer, and I want them to understand it. I'm still the same person,
Yeah.
and that something like this can happen to anybody.
Have you ever heard this quote? It's like super, super old, so old, that it's like an ancient Greek philosopher, I believe. But it's like, the quote is, "It's not what happens to you in life; it's how you react to it." I believe it's Epictetus, and there's a couple of other variations about this. Um, when somebody approaches me and they tell me that, because I don't believe in God, I'm a bad person, let's say, or I'll never be able to truly achieve happiness because without the love of Jesus Christ in your heart, you can be nothing but a wretched sinner. Again, just pulling something off the top of my head, not as if somebody has told me that before in my life, but
I've heard
in those,
similar.
yeah, no, I have, yeah, I'm sorry, I was being a little sarcastic. I have definitely been told those things. But in those moments, for me, oftentimes what I do is I try to take a small step back and ask myself, you know, do I feel as if I actually gave it my all? Do I really believe that I actually freaking tried? Um, and if the answer is yes, I did,
Tried what?
and to believe, tried to be somebody that was the quote unquote true Christian. Because again, that's a logical fallacy. That
Funny.
doesn't make any sense when somebody tells you you are or are not a true, insert a label. But for me, it's about what did I do? And I was somebody that was very active in my church. I was somebody who, did a lot of things when it came to acolyte and communion and stuff like that. I played in multiple different music groups at the church for years, even after I had really kind of stepped away and stopped believing. I was still there every Sunday to play music because I really wanted to do that. And when I did believe, I definitely believed, and nobody else can tell me that that wasn't true. And hey, maybe there's an argument I haven't heard of. Maybe there's an interpretation of some esoteric bullshit tablet that we dug up 2 years ago or what. Maybe, I mean, maybe Josiah, right? And maybe I just needed to read that when I was broken and hurting, and that would have brought me back to Christ, found this lost sheep and all that stuff. But I honestly, I honestly tried, and I still do. I still honestly try. I have many, many friends that are believers of a lot of different stripes. And whenever we have conversations where we are challenging each other and respectfully trying to understand where the other person is coming from, I try every single time to get to the same conclusion that they do, but I always have problems with it. And for me, one of the best things in these instances, when somebody is telling me you didn't try, you were never a believer, you blah blah, all of that stuff, honestly, I ask myself that same question I asked you. What's my goal in this conversation? And if my goal is to convince them, well, here's the logical fallacy. Here's the structure of the argument that you're not understanding. You're equivocating this and that definition, blah, blah, blah. But more often than not, my goal in that conversation is to just be at peace with myself and know that, whatever terrible things somebody is laying on me, those aren't necessarily what actually does define me. Like, if you honestly tried, Josiah, and you woke up and you did the things and you said the things and you acted out the things and you read if you did all of that fucking shit, you were a true believer. Absolutely, you were. And anybody telling you otherwise, doesn't matter. It's not the easiest thing in the world to just let stuff roll off you, but
Yeah.
it gets easier as you practice. Yeah, go ahead.
I actually lost my faith trying to become a better Christian.
Yeah.
I asked too many questions that my church didn't want to answer, I guess. So I decided, you know what? I don't know, fuck it. I'll go into the Bible and find my own answers.
Mm-hmm.
And the more I read, the less sense everything made.
Yeah. And a lot of times when people are
more, it lost.
Yeah, and a lot of times when believers are throwing that accusation that you are never a true believer, it's a defense mechanism, because if somebody like you who truly believed and truly studied, for instance, if someone like you could walk away from the faith, that puts their faith on shakier grounds. And I get that. I get that they would feel, a little combative in that instance. Again, it doesn't in any way, shape, or form mean that what they're saying is true. But yeah, Ben, you had something, I think.
Yeah, and going off of what you all have been talking about with what is the goal of this conversation, and the fact that if someone's saying these things, usually they're dealing with their perception of you. But you, depending on what you want this relationship to be, and I'm guessing that since these words resonated with you when someone said that you are not a real Christian, not a real believer, that it's kind of a hit to your identity, a hit to your intelligence, a hit to your honesty with them. So I'm gathering, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like you care about what these people think of you. You care about this relationship with them. And so, and this is going to be very difficult to enter conversations again, but try to be patient with them. You might be the first person that they've met who's deconverted, or first person at least that they respect and love who's done this, and they might be confused about it. So I think probably the best way to engage is with empathy, and you don't necessarily have to go into every conversation with them with debating whether or not you are a true believer or not. But I think asking questions when you need to, being there for them when they need it, like making sure that, they understand that you haven't changed as a person. You're still the same person. You just disagree on something now. And that's the only thing that's changed. And I think once you give them some time and you give them some space to process that, I think that, they might not come around, and they might, but I think really, like, the arguments and trying to logic your way through this isn't going to be the answer to preserving the relationship. So I think that's where I would go with it, at least.
What are your thoughts, Josiah? Wrap us up.
You're not wrong. I care very much about, what they think, because it's my fiance. We've been together for 4 years, and we just got to having a deeper look into our beliefs. She's known that, I'm not a believer, but one day we sat down. She took me to church, and we sat down with our group, and we talked about it, and it was kind of a big moment. I had to leave early. Wasn't easy.
And honestly, I don't know if either of us have said it, but I again, I don't always like to speak for Ben, but when I know we're on the same page, I don't feel so bad. But Josiah, it sucks that you're going through this. It sucks. Just flat out, it's bullshit. It's bullshit that anybody ever is going through stuff like that. And it sucks that when we're being attacked, when we're the ones that are being criticized for who we are, not for our ideas, but for who we are. It's bullshit. And it's honestly, it's unfair that we're the ones that have to try and do better. But you know what? If we want to be better, it is on us. If we want to be better interlocutors, if we want to be people that are trying to progress society to a place where we are minimizing as much bullshit like this as we possibly can, then we always have to ask ourselves, who am I being in this moment? Who am I being, and who do I want to be? What response do I want from other people? What do I want the world to look like when I wake up tomorrow? Again, it's flat out BS that the onus falls on people that are being attacked. It's just crap. The good news is that there are at least a good handful of wonderful places out there. Like I said earlier, the Talk Heathen has an awesome fan run group on Facebook. I know there are many other places that you can find just a bunch of cool people that watch the shows and hang out and help out and volunteer their time. Fan run Discord for ACA, a bunch of different fan run pages on Facebook, and even some private ones too. And that has been super helpful for me, being able to reach out to somebody like Ben, and just call him up and just be like, man, let me tell you about this bullshit I went through today. And this is garbage. And I wanted to yell at the person and tell them how much of a fucking jackass they were. And just kind of vent a little and just, know that there are some people out there that, know what you're going through and are here to support you, man. So.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, Josiah, thank you for hanging out with us today. And we're gonna move on to some other calls. We've got a couple left, and we've got some patrons to thank. So Josiah, thank you so much for hanging with us.
Yeah. Enjoy your weekend.
Yeah, you too. Yeah.